Hello and welcome, Hennessey Performance fans, to the Hennessey Podcast. This is episode 004. I am your self-proclaimed host, Alex Royce, and I'm here, as always, with the one and only John Hennessey. Never Lift, am I right?
Yeah, the Never Lift. That's from Bruce Meyer, from my good friend from California. But yeah, Never Lift. Here
right.
we are.
Well, man, we have an action-packed list of very interesting topics that we're going to get into. And honestly, let's just get right into it.
Let's get right into it.
So we're
trying to do one podcast a month. So
yeah.
I think that's about right.
Yeah, that's proper. So we've got a brand new McLaren 720S in the shop. It's just being done right now today. Mm-hmm. I drove it earlier.
Yeah.
It's from a very great customer of ours.
Ronnie Killen Steaks. STQ. If you're from Houston, you've probably heard of Killen's. If you're not, you need to check it out.
Amazing barbecue, Tex-Mex food, steaks, Wagyu beef. Wow. We just finished his 720S McLaren, and it's phenomenal. The 720S, as we both know, is a very fast car already, but it's a little bit quiet. It's a little bit too refined sometimes, but with some more horsepower and some more sound, it's amazing. Yeah,
I mean, we haven't put it on the dyno yet, but it should pick up a solid 100 horsepower at the wheels.
Yeah, it should be really close to 800 at the wheels.
Intake, tune, exhaust, and blow-off valves.
Mm-hmm. And the blow-off valves sound
we'll run some numbers. We'll do some videos on it. We'll go out and maybe match up against, we have to work hard to find a faster car, but maybe maybe a drag car or something, and make for an interesting race. Twin-turbo Lamborghini or something.
Yeah, it'd be a good street racing car.
Yeah, for sure. We're doing a lot of McLaren stuff these days. 600 LT, 570s. Been talking to a couple of Senna guys. So the Senna engine's very close cousin to the 720. So maybe we'll see 1,000 horsepower Senna before too long.
That would be an amazing.
Which, by the way, there's a guy from Aston, friend of mine, huge I refer to him as the McLaren super fan. His name is Josh Snowhorn, and he just took delivery of a Senna. He has a 720. I think he has a Senna GTR on order. Anyway, he is organizing a cool event in Austin at Circuit of the Americas in September called Senna Fest. Senna's only. Anyway, but I think he'll have a provision if you're a fan and you want to come out to the track and see. I think they're talking about maybe 70 or 80 Sennas out of the 500 built in the world at Circuit of the Americas this September. I think he has a website called Senna Fest. So anyway, had a nice chat with him in Geneva, and just kind of, while we're talking about McLaren, kind of made me think of that. Do
you know how many made it to the U.S. of that 500?
That's a good number. I mean, it's a good question. I'm sure we can find out. I'm guessing, a third to half maybe. Yeah. But who knows? Yeah.
It's interesting.
I'll find out.
Well, cool. Speaking of Sennas and crazy cars, you were just in Geneva. And you had a lot of good stuff that you saw and good people that you met with regarding our own car. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So been going to Geneva for the motor show in March. The last, at least 5, 6, 7 years. We had our display, which you were at last year, for the Venom F5, and that went really, really well. We're in the process of building the first car now. We have other cars behind it that we're going to be building later this year. So we weren't ready to go back to Geneva this year with a display. We'll most likely return in 2020 with the F5. But anyway, so I went over there it's nice to go to a major show like that and not have to be like in the booth, talking to the media, talking to people constantly like I did last year. So this year I went over there with John Heinrichs, our chief engineer for the Venom F5 program. So we had meetings with some of our suppliers, and then we see we have many friends, like the McLaren guys, Mike Fluid and his wife Mia. Mike's the CEO of McLaren. We had dinner with Mike and Mia and some of their senior staff the night before the show. So it's a good place. It's kind of like SEMA. It's kind of like supercar SEMA.
Yeah.
Where you can see people and see cool cars, and so that went really well. People are going to ask, hey, what were the great cars at the show? What's my best of show? What about the Jesko, Koenigsegg, and things of that nature? And so I guess to answer some of those questions that people are going to be asking,
let's start with the Jesko.
Let's do Jesko last. Let me start with what were the most impressive cars of the show, and what would I say would be the star of the show. So again, just within the world of supercar, hypercars. Pininfarina had the Battista.
Very nice.
So it's a beautiful car. It looks a little bit like a LaFerrari, an all-electric LaFerrari. Which
Kyle Smith called me earlier and invited me to the North American debut of the Battista.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you want to go to that.
Okay.
That'd be pretty
You
cool.
have to tell me more about that.
Yeah.
That's cool. So
shout out Kyle.
Good-looking car. It's 1,900 horsepower, so I believe they're running, I think everything under the skin is from Rimac, the Yugoslavian company that has the gosh, what's the name of that car? It's the 1 and the 2. Concept 1, Concept 2, all electric.
Anyway, like that.
Here's my own. I won't even say this is a knock on the electrics. I mean, there's tons of electric cars. I mean, it seems like every time I go to Geneva, here's some company from some country in Asia that I never heard of before that now has this 1,000 horsepower all electric sedan that's ginormous. It's like the size of a Suburban. And then you go back to Geneva the next year and they're gone. So my only comment about electric, and electric is something I've had my eye on for a while, but haven't decided it's time to move forward with it, is just the weight. Mm-hmm. So the Battista is a beautiful car. It's huge. It's bigger than.
Can you reference it to something? Like a 7 Series BMW?
Yeah, it's somewhere between a supercar and a 7 Series BMW. Okay. It's a big car. Yeah. So what does it weigh? I don't know what it weighs. I'm guessing it's way over 4,000 pounds. Is it 4,500 pounds? I mean, so to me, okay, you got 1,900 horsepower and all this incredible straight line performance capability, but that's just the straight line aspect of a supercar, hypercar. What about when you hit the brakes? What about when you turn? And so I just don't see the dynamic of that working. Again, beautiful car. They'll probably sell every one that they make. I think I read somewhere that they're going to build 150 cars and they have orders for half of them.
And so you have the Pininfarina name.
Yeah, Pininfarina name. So let's see what else is there. I got a chance. This is kind of a cool car. So Aston Martin arguably, I think, made the largest statement at Geneva in that they rolled out all kinds of new cars. They've got their Lagonda, which is an all-electric, big people mover, luxury people mover. They had the Valkyrie there, and that's the one I want to talk about. But they had two other sub cars that I call Son of Valkyrie 1 and Son of Valkyrie 2. One of them is like the AMR 03, which I'm like, okay. Then the other one's the Vanquish, and they both look like the Valkyrie.
Right.
A lot of people seem to be excited about that, thinking that, okay, well, one of them is kind of slotted for the 720/F8 Tributo, which is a pretty car.
Very
we can talk about that separately. So I'm like, okay, I get that. Okay, cool. I'm sure it's a good-looking car, but it just looks like a mini Valkyrie to me. If I'm a Valkyrie guy, I'm like, why did you clone my car into something that's like 1/10 the price?
Right.
But anyway, I'm sure I'm sure they're all sold and they have a waiting line for those cars. So anyway, but to talk about the Valkyrie itself, to see it there with the engine in the car, with the full interior, I mean, dude, that thing is tiny. I mean, it makes a Venom GT look spacious.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a total race car for the street. Right. But it's neat. It looks pretty finished. It looks like it was marked as prototype 01. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that ripping down the road or maybe around the Nürburgring sometime later this year. So
the Valkyrie, not to be confused with the Vulcan, which the Vulcan
the Vulcan was a track-only car that they built, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
The Valkyrie has got the 6.5 liter naturally aspirated V12 that makes 1,000 horsepower on pump gas.
Wow.
Through catalytic converters. So that's a Cosworth deal, and that's pretty. It turns like 11,000 plus RPM, and on top of that, they have a hybrid electric motor to boost the low end power and torque. Some torque fill for that thing, because I'm sure that an engine that turns that many RPM, it doesn't make its power till from 6,000 to 11 or something like that. So anyway, so that I thought that was a very cool car. It didn't seem to be getting quite as much of attention as some of the other the new I'll just say the new shiny toys. The car that I got, probably the that I thought was the most special at the show, is and it was only there for one day, was the McLaren Speedtail. And so I had dinner the night before the show with Andy Palmer, who's the chief engineer, the line executive who's responsible for that car. Now, the CEO for Aston Martin is also named Andy Palmer, so there's no relation between the two.
Gosh.
Make that distinction. Both British guys, both work for very well distinguished British automakers, but and they're both engineers. Anyway, and so Andy gave me me and Heinrocket, about a 20-minute walk around the Speedtail.
What is that like in person?
It's like what you see in the photos. It's really long, and it's like a aerodynamic streamliner. It looks like something you'd see at Bonneville in August.
But does it look good in person?
It doesn't look pretty, but I think just the weirdness of it and for what it's intended to do. I mean, I don't know if I'm supposed to tell anybody this, but the coefficient of drag on that car is 0.26.
Gosh.
It's super duper low. And so we're talking about the 720. So imagine take the 720 and add 300 plus horsepower to it and make it lower drag and probably make it lighter weight. That's the Speedtail.
That'd be ridiculous.
With 3 seats. So it was only there for one day, and to get like a walk around, and he's showing us about why they did things a certain way and where the exhaust is located, and it's got these little flaps in the material in the back of the car. Yeah. I thought that was probably, for me, that was my best of show. Now,
really?
But let's just say, and I'm trying to think what else was there. Porsche, Lamborghini, Mercedes. I don't remember having anything all that special. I mean, I think the Koenigsegg, the Jesko, people have been hearing about the rumor of, I think the people on the street, but can just call it referring to it as the Ragnarok, from that movie, another Nordic, Viking, legendary name. And so anyway, so when we got to Geneva, we got there on Monday, and so we went by the convention center because sometimes people are still setting up and you can see stuff and talk to people. And so we were waiting to meet with, I don't know, one of our vendors. And so we were kind of hanging around. Pagani and Koenigsegg are literally, they're across the aisle from each other. And so I just told the vendor, it was actually our display vendor from the show last year. So I said, just meet us at Pagani. So we're hanging out there. And so Christian von Koenigsegg, his wife, her name is Dora. She goes by Dora. Anyway, super nice lady. Met her a couple times, had dinner with her and Christian. They're just the nicest people. So anyway, she comes walking by and she's like, "Hey, you ready to check out our car tomorrow?" I'm like, "Absolutely. Would love to see it." She's like, "You're just going to love it. You're just going to love it. You're going to love the name."
Yeah.
And so anyway, it's cool to see, fellow, car builders, his wife, really engaged in their business. And so anyway, so we came back the next day, and I think their unveiling was like at 12:30, and there was like, a huge crowd around their display, and it's probably 6 people deep. And so anyway, I'm in the back. I don't like crowds, and so I'm watching that. I see all these guys have like their phones up. Well, I can kind of see what's going on by looking at somebody's phone next to me. And so Dora gets on the microphone and starts talking about the name of the car, and I could tell she's kind of tearing up. And she started talking about her father-in-law, so Christian's dad, Jesko. That's how you pronounce it, with a Y rather than a J. Anyway, so she starts talking about what a wonderful man Jesko Koenigsegg is, and how early in their business they had some tough times, and Jesko was there for them and helped them through those times. Anyway, so, and then Christian came up and then told the story of how they kept it a big secret and wrote some phony press release. Yeah. I'm just like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And so, his dad is there, and he tells the story and about naming the car after his dad. And so then they uncover the car, and the car is completely badass. It's basically it's a evolution of the Agera RS.
Right.
I think they said they lengthened the wheelbase a little bit. They got this wacky 9-speed transmission, which if anybody
can it go from like first to ninth?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, so what it is, it's like a 3-speed transmission with an over and under drive. Like some old school trucks will have an over and under for like each gear, so you get a different multiplication. It's almost like changing the actual ratio.
Right.
So, and actually, my last day there, I was getting ready to leave the show. Christian was very nice and gave me a walk around the engine and talked about the transmission. And look, if they can make that work, where it's that lightweight and compact, and it can hold 1,600 horsepower, my hat is way off to them. And I told him, I'm like, dude, you should totally, if this works, you should license this and sell this to sell it to Ferrari or whoever if you want to. I'm sure he wants to keep some differentiation for his product, but I thought that the transmission, again, I don't think it's sorted out. They've got basically their 5-liter engine, which is derived from what we're familiar with the mod motor, with the Ford mod motor. Now they're putting a flat plane crank in it, which we're familiar with on the GT350 motor. So he asked me if they might have some vibration issues. I said, well, Ford has some vibration issues, but
they make it work.
We beat the piss out of ours and haven't had any issues with it. I think if you want a road course, a super light crank like that, it might be a little different, but I mean, I'm sure they can make it work. But the car was beautiful, was nicely executed. It was just the whole story with naming the car after his dad, and just they're just such nice people. Yeah. Even though we're a direct competitor, and they just treat us like royalty. They treat us super duper nice. So I'm sure they're not going to have any problems selling their cars, and our cars are sold out for the next year and a half. So we're both busy, and that's great to see. Right. I think I read they're going to build 125 cars, which that's a lot of cars. But I think they've scaled up their operation. I think they have like 250 employees now, which is that's a lot, pretty big group of people. So that's it'll be interesting to see. So when we get, I'm sure people wanting to know what's the F5 update. So it's on. We're trying to get 3 cars built this year, prototype and 2 client cars, and that's forthcoming. So we'll be out going fast somewhere. Yeah, hopefully before the end of the year. Yeah. What month is it? Is it August or is it November? We're not quite sure.
Stay tuned.
Well, a lot of our suppliers, and we're actually we're building a lot of the key components in the UK. So they've got Brexit, and every day there's something in the news about Brexit. So we'll get it done, but that could have a little bit of effect.
One quick backtrack back to the Speedtail. Are you allowed to tell the story of how you almost named it?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Well. So anyway, Mike Fluid, again, CEO of McLaren, has become a really cool friend, and he's very nice and invites us to various things. And I think we had dinner in Geneva 2 years ago, and he said that they were in the process of naming the Speedtail, and what would I call it? And I said, well, I don't have a name off the top of my head, but I kind of have a process on how I like to name stuff. And unfortunately, anytime you come up with a good name, somebody else has probably already come up with that same good name.
Always.
So you can't always use what you create, and we know that. So anyway, I got back home. I did my process, and kind of knowing what I knew about the car then, its intention to be fast and straight line, super aerodynamic, and fastest car that McLaren has built, surpassing the F1, which they ran at 241 miles an hour with the no rev limiter on that BMW V12. Anyway, so I circled back with him a couple weeks later, and I said, well, here's a name that I like. I think it goes with the car perfectly. But I said there's another manufacturer that's using it, and that was Aeromax. So there's a company in England named Morgan, and that's a car, that's a name that they use. And so anyway, I just gave that to Mike and said, if you like it, you'll have to your lawyers will have to sort something out with the Morgan guys. Anyway, and those are the guys that make the old school cars with the wooden chassis. Yeah. Anyway, they're on my next time I go over to England, on next one of my trips, I want to go visit their factory. It's supposed to be pretty cool. So anyway, so that cool was story, yeah. Though. So Mike came back at me. He said he loved the name. He would, I guess they have like a committee that determines the names. He said he would totally support it, but because of the I think so. I think Aeromax is cooler, but it just kind of makes me think of Mad Max. But also I think Speedtail's not bad. No, it's not bad.
Well, cool. So sounds like you had a good time. And
so yeah, Geneva was really good. So my personal best of show would be McLaren Speedtail, Aston Martin Valkyrie second. But I think that for the public, I think Koenigsegg probably dominated most of the news and got lots of attention. And the cool thing is, every time that somebody's talking about the Koenigsegg Jesko, half the time they're talking about us.
We're in the article,
so we're getting some coverage there. So thank you, Christian and Dora and team, and maybe we can get together on a highway out in Nevada or Texas, later this year.
Stay tuned for that too.
Yeah, I think people would pay to see that.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear all that, and I'm sure the audience is too. So moving on to the Velociraptor Ranger. A lot of good stuff coming there. We've got our first few here in R&D process, ready to go. The tune is pretty fast.
Yeah,
for a little truck.
We're gonna save some good stuff for later. But
okay. All right.
That being said, so we've got the Ranger. What do you think? We'll have our first finished truck 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
Bumpers, lights, wheels, tires, horsepower. So we're early in the horsepower process, but we won't get into all the details of the modifications. But we've already seen. We just put a video out on YouTube. I think we picked up 64 horsepower, like 107 foot-pounds of torque at the rear wheels. Our big dealer in Nashville, the guys at Brownlee Ford, are taking orders and sending us trucks. And we just had a customer here in the showroom, actually a relative through marriage, who's never met the guy. He's here specking out his Velociraptor Ranger. So I think that's going to be super duper popular. And again, in that, new nicely loaded truck is 45, and our customers will spend on average about another 20 grand with us. So a little bit less money than a new Raptor, and might be as fast.
Maybe
We'll have to see.
Well, cool. So I read something interesting earlier about the GT500, which we're all excited for, ready to modify, ready to make some more horsepower. But I guess it's electronically limited to 180.
Yeah.
A little bit interesting, given that the ZL1 goes over 200 stock.
I think, again, if you look at the car, I think the intention of the Ford engineers was to build not just a car for top speed. I think they could have done that if they wanted to, but they wanted to have an all-around performing car. And so if you look at the aero on the car, you've got the big splitter in the front, big wing in the back. And I think with that downforce, basically, at some point, the drag from the downforce, won't let you go faster at some level. Now it's the paddle shift transmission. I'm also guessing that depending on the amount of downforce, sometimes the tire manufacturer and the engineers will get together and say, well, once we achieve this level of downforce, we don't want to go beyond this level, because then it becomes potentially an issue with adding heat to the tires. Yeah. So I have no doubt the car could go faster. Will we uncork that? I mean, I don't think we will, unless we felt like, the tires, or you can put a different tire on there to handle that. But again, I think most people are going to buy the GT500.
It was
I would probably care about the top speed, but a lot of people probably won't.
Yeah. It's kind of a big surprise for me. I really was thinking that the GT500 was going to be a manual with a 10-speed option, but they came out of nowhere with a dual clutch 7-speed.
Well, I think they had to. I mean, if you look at what's out there, the ZL1's been a 10-speed and a manual. Now you can get the 1LE with both the manual and the 10-speed. So I think, you got, Dodge, every time they turn around, the Hellcat, you got the Demon, then you got the Red Eyes, and then you got the Elephant. So it's like, what's Dodge going to do next year? They're going to come out with a 1,500 horsepower, Hellcat with a warranty or whatever. So I think Ford realized that, they got, they had to pick a path with the new car, and just adding a gobs of horsepower to it was maybe not be the answer. So I think they want to just, when I saw it at Detroit, I kind of felt like it was like an exotic muscle car. So you got the carbon fiber wheels, which are beautiful. All the carbon in the car is beautiful. You got so with the transmission, you got the sophistication from the dual clutch. And I'm told it's the same dual clutch that Ford runs in the GT, which just shifts awesome. So
let's compare it directly to you say exotic muscle car. So let's talk about GT500, ZR1, and like a GT3 Porsche.
Oh, I think kind of that's where they're going with it. I think that the fully loaded carbon wheel GT500 it's under 100 grand, maybe not by much.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, but those wheels are going to be $15,000-$20,000 just for the wheels. Mm-hmm. So I think if you're talking about a GT500 with all the options minus the carbon wheels, I don't know if you can get it without the carbon wheels, but if you could, that's probably an $80,000 to $85,000 car, $80,000 car. And then with the wheels, you're in the mid 90s, I'm guessing. Right. So, it's less money than the ZR1, quite a bit less than the Porsche, but I think that's kind of in the realm that they're trying to run. Is it going to get around Circuit of the Americas as fast as a GT3 or a ZR1? Probably not, but I think I'm still getting around pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah, for muscle car.
It's a good looking car.
Exotic muscle car.
If it's anything like the 350s, I mean,
and we'll modify the full out of those things. So if you want 1,000 plus horsepower, you want to run E85, you want to run over 200 miles an hour. Maybe there's a different configuration. Maybe I don't want to get into changing the aero on the car that much, but maybe you could go to a different spec tire and run a higher top speed. But I think we'll modify a lot of GT500s. I mean, we've modified hundreds of 350s and regular GTs and Heritage Mustangs, and so that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited for that car to
it's beautiful
to drive it too. So
for sure,
it's gonna be fun. Sticking with the Ford realm, I mean, we've got a slew of V8 Raptors that we're building. Tell us about the real V8 Raptor.
So Ford, let's talk about Ford for a second. So, when we first started in 91, we were doing Japanese cars, and the Viper came along. And so then from 93 through probably, 2007, 2008, we were known as the Viper guys. And one time, about 3 years ago, I had a meeting in Detroit with a couple of executives who kind of ran the Mustang program. And they said, well, John, we kind of think of you. We kind of think of you guys are kind of like you guys are the Camaro guys. So, well, we used to be the Viper guys, and then we were the Camaro guys for a while. But I'm like, mark my words, in about a year from now, we'll all sit down, and you're like, people will be like, okay, you guys are the Mustang guys. And so we just, when we came out with our Mustang, 2015, 2016, built hundreds of those.
We were the Mustang guys.
And so I guess the point I'm trying to make is that, 10 years ago, our Ford business was, before the Raptor came in, we might have modified one Ford a month, maybe. Ford GT every now and then. We did some stuff for the SHOs. So, but when the Raptor came out, we saw a major shift towards Ford. And obviously now we're doing, between the trucks, the Rangers, we've got some cool new stuff coming for the Mustang that we'll talk about later. I love working with the Ford guys. I love the people. The people at the company, top to bottom, are great people, as they are. There's great people at all the manufacturers, but we kind of have a special relationship with Ford, and they've got a great product. And we've really carved out a neat niche with the Raptors, now with the Rangers, and so. It's something we'll continue to do. At some point, the Bronco's coming. So there's always a good pipeline of stuff, and so we love working with the Fords, and we've got a great dealer in Nashville, the guys at Brownlee that stock our vehicles.
Amazing. If you need a Ford, Velociraptor, Ranger, Mustang,
they probably have one in stock. I mean,
6x6. Check out Brownlee Ford in Nashville.
Yeah, Brock Patterson is our guy.
He's the rock star.
And so that's a nice thing. Is I've known for since we've gotten business that there's a certain group of people that will say, okay, I want to get this car, then I want to send it to you guys, then I want to modify it. And so, start to finish, that could be 2 months, it could be 6 months, depending on what they're doing. Most of our builds are, they're not here for more than 30 days. I'd say 80% of the time. But there are just some people out there that have money to spend that want something that's cool, a neat brand, something that's different and fast and fun, like the cars that we produce, but they want it now. They're like, okay, if I can't get it right now, then I'm going to buy this Ferrari, or I'm going to go buy this car over here. This was an instant gratification. So I think, working with the guys at Brownlee, them having the commitment to have our vehicles in stock helps satisfy the guy that,
needs it now.
He killed it in the market this week, and he's like, you know what? I paid my taxes, take care of my family, sacrificed most of my life. I want a toy. We talk to those guys all the time.
Every day. It's the now generation.
Yeah.
Amazon Prime.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So anyway, we're 30 minutes in, and we're trying to, just so everybody knows, we're just trying not to go too much over 40 minutes. So
so
time flies when we're talking about Geneva and Ford and whatnot.
Talking about Ford, the V8 Raptors, we've got them on the ground, ready to go. We're building them.
Right.
It's all good to go. R&D is finished.
Yeah, we'll be putting out, I think, the first vehicle that we showed at SEMA, we had a little bit more R&D to do, but that thing was essentially done kind of at the end of 2018.
Right.
And now we're scaling up. I think we have a dozen V8 conversions in the queue, and we're queuing up to do like 2 a month for the next few months. Then we'd like to get to where we can do 1 a week. So it's not inexpensive, but if you want a real Raptor with a real V8 in it, it's the only one in the world. And, we hear rumors about the 7.3 liter going on the Raptor. I just don't think they're going to do it because that engine, I'm guessing that thing weighs 200 to 300 pounds more than the EcoBoost. So the V8, the 5 liter that we're running, weighs a little bit more than the EcoBoost, but not that much more. 758 horsepower. The sound is to die for.
To die for.
And it's something that's very unique. It's not a V8 F-150 with Raptor body parts on it. I mean, we build those too. But I think for anybody to take an F-150 and put some Raptor body parts on it and then call it a V8 Raptor is not really being honest about what it is.
Right.
It's an F-150. It's a V8 F-150 with Raptor body parts on it. So just like if you took a Hellcat and put a demon hood on it and demon fenders on it, it's not a demon, you know.
Right.
So anyway.
The funny thing when I've driven it, although it is amazing, the thing that I kept feeling was, you know what, this just feels normal. This feels like what it should have been.
Like it was God intended it.
Right.
You know? The Raptor was intended to have a V8 in it.
Right.
You know, and I get why they got Ford guys to put the EcoBoost in it way back when.
And the EcoBoost is no slouch.
No.
But
we modify lots of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
awesome either way. I mean, the V8's more expensive and the lead time's a little bit longer to get. And we're only gearing up to build 50 a year. So it's something that's very, very exclusive. And I think for not a lot of our customers, for some of our customers, a lot of the public, kind of the story and the status behind what the car is every bit as important as the functionality.
Definitely.
I mean, let's be real. I mean, whether you're driving a Pagani, a Koenigsegg, a Hennessey F5, you know, some of our customers will go out and let it rip and let it do what it was intended to do. But some of them are cool just rolling into cars and coffee with the story behind it.
True.
You know, and both are great, and we're grateful for the clients that you know. Either way, you don't have to go 300 miles an hour to brag about your 300 mile an hour car.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Hopefully, we get there before Koenigsegg does, but we'll see.
Yeah, the war is on.
I know they're working on it, so are we. So we'll see.
Well, good. We've talked a lot about cars and manufacturers and all that sort of stuff. Let's just focus on us and what we've got going on here as far as later this year we're getting into a building expansion.
Yeah.
We can touch on that.
So we're growing, as you know. We're building 8 to 10 vehicles a week, sometimes more. You know, with the hundreds of Raptors, now hundreds of Rangers and other you know, whether it's 720s or Escalades or whatever, ZR1s, whatever we got going on out there. You got to have room for more people and more parts. And so we're going to add, we currently have about 36,000 square feet plus another, 4,000 feet of office, about 40,000 square feet total. We're going to add 16,000 square feet to the east side of our building. So kind of an extension of our building. And then we're going to be doing some updates on the racetrack. So that's coming later this year. But yeah, it's great to have just a consistently growing business and a lot of great customers and friends that support us and keep us busy doing what we do, and some great dealers like the guys at Brown Lee. So we felt like we needed more space, and part of that space is also going to be dedicated towards F5. And once F5 goes into production later this year, we'll probably build in 2020 6 to 8 cars. Then 2021 will be, and we want to build one a month, so an even dozen. So I'm thinking about this time next year, we'll already have plans to add another probably 30,000 square feet between our current shop, which is next to I-10, and the racetrack. So and that would give us more space for all the logistics that go on with F5. We may have another car coming after the F5 too.
Stay tuned.
Yeah,
gonna be very exciting.
Yeah, so lots going on. What about Tuner School?
Tuner School. So recently, we have a student named Jennifer. She's a fantastic student from Canada.
Right.
And she has had a great experience in Tuner School, and she's excelled in all ways. And actually, Hot Rod Magazine did an interview on her and actually wrote an article about her and Tuner School. And
so that's on the Hot Rod website?
The link will be in the description. And
we're very proud of our program and our instructors and our students, current and past, and as well as future. I mean, Tuner School does a really cool thing. We hire out of Tuner School. I'd say
a third of our employees here
came out of Tuner School. Yeah, including some of our senior guys, and it's just a neat thing. And it's a business, but it's also, I think, it has put a number of people on a course for their lives and their careers in the automotive aftermarket, and we were a part of that. We weren't all of that. I mean, each student kind of determines where they end up going, but hopefully we expose them to some skill set, other people, other vendors, people in the industry, events, whatever. I think the students tomorrow will be out at TX2K out in Baytown at that event. So it feels neat to be part of that. And then we see, again, a lot of times, the students work here and do really great things within our company, and a lot of them leave and go do something else. But we see what they're doing, and sometimes breaking records and building fast cars and doing cool stuff. And I get maybe an email, maybe one a month from a previous student, kind of tells me what they're doing. And got an email from a guy in Pennsylvania last week. He just had his third child and married, and he's a partner in an auto repair business. They're not doing much aftermarket stuff, but he kind of figures it's kind of started here. He was not in the first class, but he was here maybe 8 years ago. Anyway, so it's cool. And I mean, again, we're not necessarily trying to promote tuner school. The classes stay pretty full anyway, but if you go to tunerschool.com and check out the website and see what the school does, if you're ever in the area, want to come by, just call us, make an appointment. We'll show you what we do.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, we teach them everything they know. We don't teach them everything we know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had people ask me, "Aren't you training your competition?" Well, yeah, not
Kinda,
so much. Not so much. We want to give them the basic skills.
We want to further the industry from the grassroots.
But hey, look, I mean, there's nothing that says they can't be building stuff at some point down the road that faster than us. Maybe not faster than the F5, but faster another way. So I'm all for it.
Yeah. So we'll be wrapping up in just a sec, but we've got TX2K this week here in Houston in Baytown.
Yeah.
It's the Super Bowl of street racing, roll racing, drag racing. It's amazing.
Street racing, what's that?
Yeah, what's street racing? I don't know.
And only in Mexico.
Only in Mexico.
Right.
But what a fantastic event. All you see is transporters with, big drag radial, sports cars on the back, Supras, Camaros, Corvettes.
Lots of GTRs.
GTRs, Huracans. Oh my gosh, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's an event we had here. I've known Peter Block, the founder and organizer of the event. I've known him, 20-something years. So back when he was taking me for rides in his single turbo Mark IV Supra.
He was the first one to put a single turbo on a Supra, right?
Well, first guy that I knew.
Okay.
But he was
one of the first.
One of the first. Probably one of the first 20 people to do it.
He'll be on the podcast soon.
Well, yeah. He wants to do it. He's got a day job too.
Right.
Anyway, but yeah, a cool event. We had it here at our track for a number of years, and they outgrew us. I mean, they're over at the track in Baytown now. They'll be, I think, what will they have in the course of 3 or 4 days? They'll have 30 or 40,000 people come out there. It's a lot of
crazy.
People.
A lot of racers.
Yeah, so it's cool. We're going to go out there tomorrow, Friday. Tuner School's got a setup out there, but yeah, if you haven't had a chance to check out TX2K, you should check it out. Back in the day, I'm told that there was a little bit of street racing that went on in Houston.
What?
But
I never knew.
I think at some point the cops realized what was going on, got enough complaints. Now you go down any major freeway in Houston
any night this week.
Yeah, any night this week, and there's probably a cop sitting at every exit, so probably not a good idea.
It's always the spring break week. So
save the
ridiculous.
It's not those spring breakers. That's what it is.
Yeah,
it's street racers gone wild. Anyway, yeah, those dudes need to keep their pants on and not drive too fast. But anyway, but yeah, so if you get a chance to come to TX2K, just don't think it's like it was 10 years ago where you could go street race somewhere, because you really can't.
Kinda.
Well,
maybe you can.
If you want to go to Conroe or something, who knows? If you want to go down to Laredo and go across the border.
Right, all in Mexico.
Into Mexico.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well,
cool event and another great enthusiast event. Are we at 40 minutes? Yeah. All right, we got anything else to
Man, we had an action-packed list here. We went over a lot of cool stuff, a lot of great stuff coming in the future.
Yeah.
Stay tuned to our YouTube channel, our Instagram, our Facebook. We're verified on all platforms.
Yeah, and thanks to the folks from Shell Pennzoil who help a lot of what we do, especially with the F5.
As always.
Come true.
Our Shell Pennzoil family. Yep. They're here every so often, and we love to see them.
Absolutely.
And let's wrap this thing up.
All right.
That concludes episode 004. Thanks for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button, people, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Sounds good.